Hello, everyone. This is Ken Quigley from Keystroke, and this is our last webinar in the training series. It's been running since the beginning of November, the Linktivity training series. Thank you all for joining us. So just want a couple of housekeeping items. I've got quite a few people joining in as I speak, but this event is recorded. I'd ask that you mute yourself and do not attempt to even enable your webcam. We actually do disable it, but sometimes it will pop up, and it does interfere with the recording. It crops the whole recording. So appreciate if you keep your yourself muted and your webcam turned off. And one other thing I thought I would pass on is I was asked by ACT to relay to all the resellers that if at the end of all this you really want to start using these products and get an NFR, please come to us. They have an inventory that we've provided that's strictly for sales, and we provide them with their NFR. So please approach us. No requirement. You just have to be an ACC, and we'll provide you an NFR so that you can learn the program and put it into production. Okay. So let's get started. Okay, so we covered the housekeeping items. Just want to review the resources. Obviously, we've got the linktivity.net product page. I'll get to that in a minute. The user manuals, fairly extensive, covering all the different products in the Linktivity suite, and also blogs. A couple of blogs I'm calling out. Enhance your customer engagement with Link2calendar, and then your time is valuable, and now Link2calendar helps you sell it. Okay, and we'll cover precisely what that means in a minute. So what is Link2calendar? Well, in short, it's Calendly for ACT users. It's an online appointment scheduling service that publishes your availability online based on the times you have free in your ACT calendar. As many of you know, it's the only such service available for ACT users. You can use Zapier or you can sync with Outlook Calendar to ACT, but both have different costs and headaches associated with them. Link2calendar is the only one that works directly with ACT. Link2calendar modernized the way businesses interact with their customers, helps avoid playing email ping pong with our customers when trying to agree on appointment times, and it's excellent for prospecting. Is often quite useful for shortening the sales cycle because less time is wasted trying to connect. The problem is so prevalent, it gave rise to services like Calendly, Appointlet, BookMe, and many others. In fact, Calendly is now a $3 billion company. So I think we could safely say we're well past the proof of concept. Okay, so what's the agenda today? We're going to create an appointment in my calendar, then we'll create an appointment within the team calendar. We'll wrap up with a tour of the Link2calendar backend, and then we'll review the differences between the two. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so I just clicked on this and this brought me immediately to my calendar. Okay, I'm going to advance to Monday. Okay, so let's just review what we're looking at here. Okay, first thing you'll notice is we had a time zone advisory. Obviously, many of us work outside of our time zone, so we prompt the person to, enter in their own time zone. Here, I'm displaying all my calendars in the Eastern time zone. Here is a monthly calendar, so if people want to click on a particular date, that's good for them. They can immediately check the availability for that, okay? They can toggle back and forth days and months this way, and they can also decide that they want to see the weekly calendar, okay? Whatever suits them. If they're looking for a meeting that's longer than, say, the default 30-minute block, they can select that, and that will display the availability in 30-minute blocks. It will say, you can see here that you've got 30-minute sessions, 1:30 to 2, but if you brush your mouse over one, it's going to display two of them, okay? Just want to make sure that always Michael's always got his mic on. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to the 60-minute or 30 minutes. Now you see I've got three options. I'm going to show you later when we get into the back end where you can configure that. I'm going to just say 30 minutes. Okay, and now let's see here. What we're going to do is we're going to book an appointment, okay, for 30 minutes. I'm just going to fill it out as Chris Huffman, okay? And I've got my choice of call or conference call. I've set 2 different activity types. I'm just going to put in test, and I'm going to put in testing again. We give the option of to set the priority. Okay, most people won't take advantage of it, but if they do, then and you see high, then obviously you can act accordingly. Okay, here is where we put in our names. I'm going to put in Chris Huffman. Company name, you can see there's no star there, so that's not required. I'm going to put in Chris.Huffman at keystroke.ca, and I'll put in 416-499-3090. And that's as difficult as it is. You can see that the time and all the details up here are displayed. There's nothing else to do. And you click on this, and it will create the appointment. Now, at this point, both parties have been emailed. I've been emailed as the person that's being booked, and Chris Huffman has been emailed as well. As I'm the person that's booking the appointment, I can also download the ICS, okay, and immediately add this to my calendar, okay? And this is what it would look like. Very, very simple, okay? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, let me just move this on over. Okay, most of you guys have seen this before, okay? But let me just bring up the calendar here. And I'm going to click on refresh. And I'm going to show you that that calendar item is now booked right here instantly. And this, it literally is like 1 second later, okay? So all of you guys are generally familiar with that functionality. What you're less familiar with is the team functionality. So let's really get a sense of how much different that looks like, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the Contact Us page. Now I'm going to show you what the team looks from the user perspective, and then we're going to get into configuring it so you can see all the power that it contains. So what is the concept here? The concept is that when someone is calling into a business, they may not care who they're going to speak with. They may want to get support, they may want to get sales, they may want to get admin or marketing. They may not even know anyone in particular. So what we're doing is we're setting up a way where they can actually meet a team of people and find the next available person, okay? So I'm gonna go with support. And the support, you've seen how fast the first one is. The first, when you're accessing one person's calendar, it's pretty instant. It's 1-2 seconds at most. This can take 5 to 10 seconds because you're accessing every person on the team, okay? So now you're gonna click on next. We're gonna go to the fourth here. Okay, so now let's take a look. I wanna review, I see all of these availabilities. I'm gonna click on the first one, available, and I can see Nav is available, okay? That's great. I can see Dia's available at this time. Dia, I could see, if I go into the afternoon, I could see 3 people available, okay? I can select any one of them, and I can read information about them. So here, I could see Dia is supports in French. I can see some information here. I can see that Michael is the support manager. I can put in information on Nav here, whichever. This is allowing me to pick the next available person, but there's another detail that I've got here, okay? And this is a feature that is exclusive to Team. So not only am I able to pick the person that is available next, but I'm able as a vendor to say, okay, this is a billable service that you're contacting us about, okay? So general, this is $75. I've listed here for demonstration purposes support contract, but I'm going to say right now $75. And I'm going to say I don't want to filter by any particular representative, whoever is available next. I want to book in blocks of 60. Okay, and let's say here. So now I've got 3. I'm going to select Michael here, and let's watch what happens. Okay, so it's validating the time slot. I'm actually surprised Michael is available for an hour. His calendar tends to look like a Tetris game. So now it's validating the time slot, and I'm going to go through here. Now look at what's happened. It said I'm booking for an hour. It's actually posting the fee, and it's saying 100% deposit is required. I can't be putting down, you know, a 50% deposit. Here's the representative, here's the time, here's the activity type. So I'm going to put in test, and I'm going to put test for billing. Okay, and now I'm going to put in Chris Huffman again. And I'll put in the company. Okay, so you saw what happened before. Now let's watch what happens when I click on continue now. So now it's got everything, review your booking, and now it's saying a deposit of $150 is required. And if I click on create appointment, it's going to immediately take me into PayPal, okay? And it's going to charge me. Now it's going to then notice that it's the same PayPal account as the vendor, and it's not going to allow me to do it. But that's the difference. That allows you to literally check out and bill for your time in the process that they're booking in. But we've got one other thing that is quite cool with this. Okay, let's go here. Now, this was an idea, I'm going to give proper credit here. This was an idea that was suggested to me by Josh Noonan. What he suggested, and certainly it makes sense to most of the people that are on the call, is that we often don't need to bill for our customers, okay, because so many of them already have support contracts. So when we want them to book, we want them to be able to have that privilege to book, okay? So what we've done, and I'm going to show you when we tour it in the background, I'm going to click here, run into the same interface. Here was the thing that I quickly clicked through, just reminding people to check their time zone, okay? Now I'm going to click here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say the activity type is support contract. So what this is doing now is it's going to look when I register whether or not my contact record is in a particular group that I've designated as paid support contract customers. Okay, I thought this was an excellent idea. So now I'm going to click here, click on Michael again. Now remember, this is bypassing the payment process. Okay, now it's got all my information here. And now watch what happens when I try to click continue. It's now checking the database, and it says your email is not registered in our list of eligible participants to book this appointment. So now they've got to go back and start again, okay? And they've got to go back and actually pay as you play on the checkout. The thing that I couldn't demonstrate for this demo is that you can actually put both of them in one, and I'll show you in the back end when we get to that, where you can configure an activity to say, okay, you pay unless you are in a group. So it actually gives you an either or. So you'll go through the payment process, and if it recognizes that you're in a group, it won't ask you for money. Okay, so that way you only need one activity type, less confusing, and people can go through the checkout process very simply. Okay. Now, think of all the trades consultants, service professionals that can benefit from this kind of setup. We're literally $10 a month and a PayPal account, and they can start selling their time online, okay? Whether they're dog groomers or they're electricians or tradespeople or professional consultants, whichever, all of them typically would have to make a much bigger investment, okay? Whereas now you can literally set someone up, an act user, and $10 a month. So this is something that I think is really, really easy to cost justify, okay? Now, let's go to, we've got this, just want to quickly review, I've covered everything, yep. Okay, now the one thing that I want to mention is you saw all those people in the group, okay? You saw, I think in one case, we saw 3 or 4 people available. The way that Link2calendar Team Edition works is that each person has to have a team license, okay? So if you've got 5 people, then you're gonna need 5 times 120, okay? And that allows them to group all together and present their availability as a team, okay? Let me just see, we've got a couple of questions. I see. Okay, so now that pretty much covers the front end, the kind of stuff that a lot of you guys are familiar with, maybe not so much on the team side, but familiar with in terms of whether you've booked appointments with us or active consultants using it. The interface is pretty straightforward, okay, and we've made it really quite simple. But the team is quite a bit more flexible, but you don't see it all on the front end because you're being streamlined through a process as simply as possible. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go to the back end. Okay, so we're going to go to linktivity.net. And as I said, this is the last one in our series. Just want to quickly show you guys before we jump into it. I mentioned in the initial slides, the products, you go to here. Okay, you can learn all about it. See, it starts, the individual version starts at $5 a month. Okay, got some why use it. Here's the quantity discount. Make sure you're aware of that. Quantity discounts when buying in bulk. There's 2 products that are user-based products in the Linktivity suite. Link2calendar is one, Link2quotes is other. The other ones like Link2events, Link2forms are often purchased at the account level because you don't need multiple people to have them, okay? Here's some blog references, okay? Here's some videos, some quick talking points, and then here's the comparison chart. Okay, down here, you can see group calendars, emailed meeting reminders. That's a big key, guys. A lot of people will upgrade just for this alone, especially the solopreneurs that really want to just have this. Okay, they'll pay for the extra $5 for this. Charging for appointments, which I just showed you, and then through the group calendar. Exclusive group privileges, okay, and then the link to shrink integration. Can't really show you that on the front end, so we'll get into that on the back end. And then we talked about the user manuals. Here's where you can read all the user manuals and really get familiar. We've integrated videos and everything right into it. So just trying to keep this as demystified as possible, okay? So let's go back to the home page. Let's click on My Account. Okay, we come to the home page. Now, before we get into this, I want to show, I'm really quite pleased with this. The What's New thing here, this shows you all the What's News, and we've added quite a bit. But one of the things I requested that was added just yesterday is the ability to filter by product, not just dates. So if you're only interested in all the changes that were done for Link2calendar, then you can click here and see this was done in November. These were all the changes done in December last year, November last year, October, extensive changes, things like that. So that's kind of useful. Let's go back to the home page. Okay, and let's get into Link2calendar. Okay, so the first thing is we logged in. I reviewed the what's new. So let's go to the general settings. This is a bit of review of what we covered in the first week, but I think it's important, okay? So we'll go to the general settings and we're gonna click on workspace, okay? Because a lot of the things here impact Link2calendar, okay? So the first thing is your time zone. Duh. You wanna make sure that your time zone is set, even though this is at the workspace level, okay? This is important to set. I'll show you how to override it if you work in another location or another time zone. I get asked this all the time in terms of date formats, okay? This is the standard American format, month, day, year. Commonwealths tend to be big, bigger, biggest, so it's day, month, year, whichever, you can set the preferences here. Same thing with time format, English. The branding options here, hide footer, if you don't select this, then it will display the very, very small Linktivity banner in the calendar screens. Okay, here is your API information, and then here is the email information. Now, the email information at the work group level, okay, is great if you are in fact the administrator, but you may be a user that wants to, you know, send things out by zone email, right? Okay. Let me just mute someone. Going to remind everyone, please keep yourself muted, okay? Okay, below this is the PayPal information. So the first thing is the payment information, I should say, offline payment. So what do you want them to see, okay? Because this doesn't apply just to Link2calendar, it applies to Link2events, Link2quotes, and so on and so forth. So here's where you would say, if they've completed a transaction with you, where can they mail the check, or where can they pay online? And then here's the PayPal integration. We've got two types, the legacy and the PayPal checkout. We actually had to create our own PayPal plugin for this to work seamlessly, but that's done and it works perfectly. If you want to test it, we've got a sandbox mode. Now, over here under my profile, couple of things. You see the contact email? You're going to need this here under your profile if you want to have an ICS file that recognizes you, okay? The ICS file I send out, it's going to have the, mine would be ken@kqc.ca, so that when people click on it, add it to their calendar, if it's a recognized email, it'll be associated with my contact record. Okay, and then now you can see down here, I've got my specific information so that any emails that go out to people that book appointments with me are going to be from me, okay, as opposed to it, okay? And I think that is pretty much it. We covered the branding. Okay, so now let's go to the Link2calendar settings here. Okay, and we're going to start off at the personal calendar. Okay, this, if you haven't looked at this in a year, this has been restructured quite a bit to make it simple and work better with workspaces. Okay, under the general tab, not much has changed. We've got the name here. We used to have a long alphanumeric string that wasn't very friendly, so we encourage everyone to put in you know, a custom URL here. Just put in your name, you click on validate, and if it says it's available, it will book that for you once you click on save, okay? And then here's a logo that you saw display on my page. Now this introductory text is especially important if you are in Europe. One of the things that ACT gave us feedback on was GDPR issues, where, you know, GDPR is less about email, more about privacy. If someone enters in their contact information in this and they're not in your database, this will add them to your database. If you're subject to GDPR, you should definitely put that in, that they're being added to your database so that you're in compliance, okay? I'm not a GDPR lawyer, so make sure that if you're subject to it, that you satisfy any other conditions, but the introductory text and the closing text should give you some cover in that you're telling people, you know, that what's going to happen to their data. If they're an existing contact, then anything they put in here will be updated, and they need to be aware that this information is going into the database. North America, less important, but I can tell you we're starting to see a lot of the legislation that we've seen in Europe beginning to make their way over here. We're seeing changes in Canada. In 2017, we saw the full implementation of what's called CASL, which is the Canadian anti-spam legislation, and we're beginning to see GDPR-like legislation creeping into here too. Okay, so then you could see that you could set the default calendar, show the welcome dialog. Some people really don't like that. That's fine. Now let's click on over to appointments. Okay, now most of this here is pretty straightforward and hasn't changed that much. I want to draw your attention to a couple of things. The location. This was suggested by an ACC in Canada, Gary Roblard, I'll call him out. He actually recommended that a lot of financial planners have virtual meeting rooms, much like I do, okay, and like many of you guys do, where anytime they book a meeting, okay, it will send out the invite and it will actually put the meeting location. So you're not having to scramble after them to, you know, say, let's use this link or let's use phone them or anything. This creates a standard virtual meeting room that you can put in. That was a great suggestion. Okay, that's the first thing. Second thing is we've added assign contacts to group. What that basically means what you think it means. It will basically take every single contact that books an appointment with you and put them in this group. Okay, if you don't like that group, you can cancel, okay, and search for another group there, okay? And then here is that team permission that I mentioned, okay? X number of hours, days, minutes before the meeting, send a reminder, okay? If you're wondering what that reminder looks like, here is the meeting reminder template, and the templates are over here. Meeting reminder, I can go in, I can create this. I actually put my meeting link here, okay, so that they don't have to go back to the initial confirmation screen or the confirmation email. And then here's all the different fields I can merge in, okay, including my signature. I showed you guys under my profile, my signature information. This is where I can incorporate it in. So if you are sharing this with several team members, then they can all use the same template. Okay, now I've got KQ here, so maybe that's a bad example, but you remove that, this is pretty much generalized. You know, obviously I'm looking at this, I've called it meeting reminder Ken because it's got enough Kenness in here that it probably can't be shared, but you can come up with different templates that can share it, and having the signature, okay, as a merge field allows them to be more easily shared. Okay, so let's go back to the personal calendar. Okay, we covered the reminders. Again, that's a team edition. Now let's go, a team feature. Now let's go over it. Now you'll see here, we've got the name with team. You can also click on link to shrink. And I've actually created an even shorter one, link2.sh / Ken Quigley. But if I want to remove that one, okay, I can. I'm a little nervous because I may have this posted elsewhere, but I can copy it here. When I click on remove, I can generate a new one, okay? Now, if you are a link to shrink user, you can actually go down here and create a specific one, but the team products all have limited link to shrink functionality built within them, okay? Okay, so we've got all of that, and I think let's go to my availability. Now, my availability, again, I've done many of these webinars, so I don't want to be repetitive. A lot of this functionality is the same as you've seen. Let me show you a difference. Now, first of all, you saw when I set up the time zone in the workspace, I'm in that workspace and I'm in that time zone, so I say inherit from workspace. But if I've got, like, let's say I'm Greg Davis, or well, Michael Cadlib's in the same time zone, but any of our employees like Jason Murphy that are on the Pacific Coast, they can actually set the override right here, okay? Now, the default is, for me, 8:30 to 5 p.m., and I say set the same hours for each day. But we had a lot of people ask us, can we have custom hours per day? So what we did is we just deselect this, and it allows you to custom set your hours per day. So this is a feature that maybe you guys haven't seen. Okay, go back here. Now, earliest availability, this is important. And I'll tell you, I implemented this myself. I set a 3-hour minimum lead time because I was getting people that were booking me, 15 minutes in the future, and I would miss the meeting because I was in another meeting or just was busy doing something, and I wouldn't be notified in time, and these people were waiting around for me. Okay, so I don't like to be quite ambushed that much. So I've put my earliest availability as 3 hours. Okay, and that gives me enough lead time. But if I need more, I can put hours, days, or weeks. Now, if you're thinking, what's the point of doing that? Well, there's actually a lot of financial planners in particular that have asked for multiple days, sometimes weeks lead time, where they don't want customers booking a meeting too quickly because maybe there's more preparation, whatever the reason. Okay. So this is where you would select the number and then the drop down to indicate what the denomination is. Okay, latest availability. Why did we put this in? I don't want people booking appointments with me that are for like next fall. Okay, I don't want to be scheduling my vacations around one appointment that someone has booked 8-9 months in advance. So I've said you can only book 5 months in the future. In fact, I'm going to just say 3 here. Buffer time, alarm time, those things are pretty standard. If I don't want meetings to be booked back to back to back, I actually had one meeting that ran over, and people, because I use my virtual meeting room, my next meeting, literally the participants started to join on the meeting that hadn't completed. So I strongly encourage a buffer time. Blacklists, most of you guys have seen this. I'll just pop open this one. You can give it a name. You can set repeating daily, weekly, staff meetings, things like that. Or maybe I actually put in my lunch, okay, because I was having so many people, book meetings with me during my midday feeding that it made me grumpy. Okay, but this, in terms of the one-offs, you now have the ability to set a to and from. Okay, when we first released this product, you had to kind of stay every single day. We've made it a lot simpler for that. Okay. Okay, the other thing here that we added is this will show you all of the bookings that you've got. Okay, you can see the Chris Huffman one here. And if I'm on a team and I want to see only mine, I can see here. Now, I can see I've got a number of appointments going into December that were created. So I know I sent out an email today, so I had a number of people take me up on it. Okay, and this is great. This is where I can see it. Now, emails, I already showed you guys, these are the templates, okay, that you can use. Again, mostly a team feature, but if you want to create one template and then just say duplicate it, that way people can use the structure, put in their own meeting place, things like that, maybe put in their own initials. This is how they would do it. And then here you can just delete it. Okay, let me just check to see if there's any. Okay, so Sylvia asked, can we add a yearly blacklist? Let's go back to my availability. Right now, we've got daily and weekly, so not currently. Not a bad idea. Okay. Okay, so we've covered that. Now let's get into what is going to be new to a lot of you. Okay. Okay, so Scott asks, I assume your calendar reads the act calendar before offering a date? Yes. Okay. Can't we set the custom available dates and times within act and block off dates? That gets really tricky. I mean, you could certainly, it's a lot easier to present your availability within here and set your own custom times, but really the choice is yours. So to answer your question quickly, yes, you absolutely can. Most people don't like to put in space fillers just to avoid the things being booked. Like I don't necessarily want to have a recurring activity daily recurring activity saying lunch, okay? I want to just make sure that if I want to book something, I can do so, okay? But you're absolutely right, the choice is yours. So let's go to the group calendar, because this is where, first of all, the group calendar is where you're going to actually be making, or what you're going to be selling with ACT is going to be the team edition. And this is where you're going to find this the easiest to sell, okay? So let's get into the support. So the group is exclusive to, excuse me.
Good morning.
I see. Let me just mute. Okay, so I had to mute someone there. Okay, so now we've got the group calendar selection. You will see, as I showed you over here, contact us. I had 4 teams: support, sales, admin, marketing. Now you can actually see them configured here. You can see all the people that are participating, but I'm going to get into this particular calendar now, and I'm going to show you what we've got configured in support, okay? Here I can preview it. This would show me the calendar I already showed you. Here grabs the link. Here's where I can edit, and here's where I can delete it, okay? You can see on the dashboard, this calendar is enabled. You can see what it's called. You can see if there's any fees or deposits, and it goes from 0 to 225. You can see the duration goes from 30 to 90 minutes, just like you saw when I was selecting it. You can see the number of reps that are part of the team that are participating in this, okay? And you can see the different activities within it, okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on edit, and we're going to see all the different configurable options. So the first is general. All of these are pretty familiar, right? So you're looking at the same kind of screen that you had for your personal setup. So you're looking at the name, you're looking at what you're going to call the calendar, customizing the link. You've got the same kind of link to shrink options up here. Okay, enable, disable. Here is the introductory text, closing text, same preamble as I gave before, guys. If you're subject to things like GDPR, definitely use this to cover yourself. Here is the display options, and then the show welcome dialog. Okay, now let's get into appointments. This is where it gets different. The top part is relatively the same, but let's just quickly review this. Here's where we can set up the reminders. Now, if you are working in a group, okay, be very careful to make sure that your reminders that are going out serve for everyone's purpose. Okay, you don't want to have something too specific, because the reminders are going to be sent out on behalf of every single, in this case, tech support person, or every admin person, whichever. So you want to have something that's fairly generic. Okay, so this is where you would find it. Okay, set reminders, already covered this. These are the fields that will be displayed. Location, and then align slot times too. So when is it actually going to start? Okay, so we're going to say all the appointments are going to align with 9 a.m. Okay, now these parts down here are the important ones. So let's click on here to edit. Okay, so let's go through the top. These are the billable items. These are the billable groups. So I'm going to say this is enabled. Okay, the name is general. Meeting duration is 30 minutes. Extended is 3 slots. Okay, so 30 minutes goes up to 90 minutes. Now keep in mind, if you've set a half-hour rate, it will triple that, just like you saw when I tried to book 60 minutes, it was billing me 150. Here is all the representatives, okay? This is how easy it is to add someone. I can go down here, it's going to everyone on the team, and I can see that Anthony needs to be added to this. And I see that Jason, and I'm gonna put in Naga, okay? So now I've added these guys. Conference call doesn't really make sense, so I'm just gonna say, in this case, I'm going to say, activity types, act service, whichever, priorities. I can also deselect this so people can't set the priority. I'm going to say what kind of details are going to be required. Here's the subject, here's the details. I can make both required. Okay, so they've got to give me some information. Again, contacts added to the group. Anyone that books an appointment with me, I can say will be assigned to a particular group. And that way, for follow-up purposes, it's really easy for me to go into ACT and retrieve all the people that we've had billable service with, okay? And this is reading instantly from ACT. So now, as you can well imagine, we're well past the capabilities of any Zapier integration or Calendly integration. We're reading groups from ACT and we're organizing them, pulling from the user list, everything, okay? So here is it where it says eligible contact group, okay? So I've got in here support contracts. As you can see, when I tried as Chris Huffman to register, it said that I wasn't eligible because Chris Huffman isn't in that group, okay? I'm not going to explain to anyone on this call how to make groups. That's obviously self-evident. But for us, what we do is we create groups from our custom tables and our support contracts. We create the rules in there, and if they have an eligible active support contract, they get added to this this contact group, and now they are able to book an appointment without paying because they've already paid. Okay. Now I've set the appointment fee, and it says multiply fee for extended meetings. So obviously that's important. Online deposit, I want to make sure it's 100%. Okay. If I am a tradesperson that, let's say I'm a plumber, or let's say I'm a dog groomer or something like that, I may be perfectly fine with them putting down a non-refundable 50% deposit because they're going to want to actually have the service completed before they pay the balance, and that's perfectly fine. In the dog groomer's case, you got their dog, what are they going to do? This last option here is the one that I wanted to show you. Suppress fee for eligible contacts and allow others not in the group to book for a fee. So this is where you would set the eligible support contracts people here. Okay, so if they selected a service and they were in this group, they wouldn't be presented a bill. Okay, but by selecting this, if they're not in this group, they will be presented a bill and they will have to pay to play. Okay, so that's pretty much it on the setup side. Okay, again, you can set the fields that are required. And then at any point, let's actually, you know what? I added a couple of people, so I'm just going to click on save. You saw me add a couple of people to the groups. I've gone this far without apologizing for my lousy internet. I thought I would get through the whole meeting. Doesn't seem to be the case. Okay, my internet in this office sucks, so we'll just wait for it to save. And then what you can see here is you can see all the people that are participating in the groups. Now, why do I need to display them? Well, as you can see from Dia, I'm able to add that he speaks French. Okay, it finally saved. Okay, he speaks French. Okay, and I can add any specialties. If I go to Michael Cadlub, okay, support manager, he should bug his boss less. Okay, now if I put that here, no, not bug more. That's the wrong lesson. Okay, now if I click on here, just waiting for this to save. I feel like I should have some game show music going on in the background here. Okay, let's go to just waiting. Click here. Yeah, my internet is bad. It'll get done soon. Okay, so now if I go to, let's say, okay. And of course, I can't find a time that Michael is free. I got to rehearse a little bit better here. If I found some place that Michael was free, let me just try one more time. There he is. He should bug his boss less. Okay, that's where you configure that information. So let's go back. Okay, now You can see here I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If I go into my my teams here and I add Anthony, Naga, Jason, okay, and I think that should be enough. And then go in here under support contract. I've only got Naga here. Okay, now I save. Wishing I had the game show music in the background. When it's done, and when I click over here, okay, actually, you can already see it now. You can see Naga, you can see Nav, you can see Jason adding to them, and then I can add additional customization, okay? And then here will indicate the fields that will be displayed when the people are seeing them on the screen and they want to book, okay? Let me just check for some comments. Okay, just from Lubs, which I think we all can agree we can be ignored. Okay, so those are auto-populated. And okay, so that we're at 147. We're mostly the way through. One of the things I wanted to show you, since this is the last in the series, there have been some changes since we started this series from week 1. Okay, so let's review those. Obviously, you can go here, go to home, okay, read more and go through all the changes, but I'm going to cover the highlights. The first, in Link to Quotes, it's now integrated with QBO, QuickBooks Online. So I'm going to show you how. Go here, go to the settings. Game show music. And when it deigns to show up, on the very far right-hand side, you're going to see QuickBooks Online. Okay, you connect to QuickBooks, and that functionality will then allow you to, when you have a closed won quote, to convert that quote directly into a transaction inside of QBO, okay? The transaction type will be invoice, sales receipt, sales order, or estimate, okay? Any of those kinds of things. I strongly recommend estimate, because the estimate can then be converted into a PO for the vendor if you're reselling items, and then into an invoice for the customer, and then the PO will convert into a bill. Okay, so that'll zero out your inventory if you're working with inventory. If it's as I've discovered, many different industry types have many different use cases. So some people like the idea of having sales orders. Okay. The next one, link to quotes. So one of the things that you're going to see here in early next week, okay, right now we've only got one field, okay? And I'll show you that right over here. I swear my marketing manager must be using the internet. It's not normally this slow. Under general, you're going to see a reseller, scroll down here, reseller margin, okay? What this is useful for is if you have a in act in the contact table, because most of the fields we currently write to are in the opportunity table. In the contact table, if you want to indicate what their default margin is, you can put that in here. This was a common request, but we've expanded on that. So early next week, under field mapping, you're going to see a tab here, opportunity table and then contact table. And under the contact table, you're going to see terms, default currency, tax, and discount, okay? All in there, and you will be able to create the fields or map them. The purpose of that is you'll be able to go into ACT, and let's say everyone in Ontario, I'm going to immediately do a lookup and do a edit, replace, and change the tax field to HST. I can go province by province or state by state and update it so that I know when I create a quote, it's going to load the appropriate sales tax the second that I link the bill to contact. Okay, so that's a really cool feature. So you'll have the discount rate as well. You'll have the currency. Okay, Currency is not so relevant, but obviously we bill in both currencies. And then we've got currency, the tax, and terms and discount rate. So those 4 things will be pulled from there, okay? The product database now includes, if you go into the, if let's say that you select because what I'll be blunt with you guys, we made the team tier so superior to the basic tier of Link to Quotes. No one was buying the basic tier. Okay, so everyone is buying it. It was great. We made a little bit more money, but that really wasn't the purpose of it. The purpose of it was to provide a functional product for each tier and maybe not have team functions that individuals wouldn't need. But the product database was one of the biggest drivers to get people into the team edition. So what we've done is we've taken the advanced product database, okay, which you can just click here, the advanced product database here, and we have added this and made this available to the standard tier. And then what we've done is, instead of it being that arcane $156, we've aligned it to the same standard tier price of all of our 2-tier products. So it's $180 and $240. $180 for the standard, $240 for the team edition for all the 2-tier products in Linktivity. So we've added a significant feature and now it's available, okay? The other big one that I'm going to be demoing next week is Link to List. This I'm really stoked about, because we're at a time of year where everyone is going to be marketing to their customers. They're going to be sending out email greetings, all kinds of things, but they're going to be doing so without any kind of regard for how good their email list is. So what you can do is you can click on here, and you see here, I can click on settings. Okay, and I'm going to use the new built-in email verification that we developed. You can still use the Bright Verify that we started with, okay? And then here you've got, this is the field that's always been here, and this is showing you how many scans I've got available. So I currently have about 103,864. If I wanted to buy more, I can go through and I can purchase them like that. Okay, and then I can add them. And if I'm curious as to what I've used so far, I can click here, and this will show me that I've got this. I've got a batch scan here, and I've gone through 2,569. Okay, so let's go back. So now what we're able to do is we're able to have people subscribe to this for $10 a month, 120 paid annually, okay? And if they've got a small distribution list, the moment they subscribe, they're going to get 500 free scans right off the bat, okay? It's more of a taste than a meal, but at least it allows you to prove, proof of concept. If they've already set up everything else over here, this is one very, very easy add-on. But I'm going to make it even nicer. This month, we're making it available for 20% off, so $96. Okay, so you got a cheaper subscription. And why do we care about this part here? Well, Bright Verify charges 1 penny per contact. Depending on the volume that you're buying this at, go here. You can see 1,000 is 0.7, 5,000, or sorry, not 0.7. 5,000 is purchasing at 0.5, so half the cost, and then 25,000 even less. Okay, so you can actually, I think, get down to 0.4 of a cent. So they can save in both ways. Okay, and then if you've never used this, it's pretty straightforward. You click here, give it a name, select the group, and then say, I want to scan all contacts or just the contacts that haven't already been verified. And then one of the nice options is if you have a group where contacts are commonly added into your database, okay, new customer group, campaign group, whichever, you can actually set this to automatically scan that group every single day or every week or every month. Okay, so you're not just building a good actionable database, but you're maintaining one as well. Okay, so this is something that we just launched on Monday, and we think if you guys go to market and start talking to your customers, they'll be able to validate their subscription list or their distribution list before they start spamming people their holiday greetings. Okay, so let me just check to see if there's any questions. When the system adds a contacts to the group, are they added statically? They are added statically to the group. Yes, there's no conditions. They're added statically to the group. Okay. Any questions other than those? You guys have gone pretty easy on me. Is there a field? Okay, so Karen asked, is there a field in ACT that shows verified? So when you you first set up link to list, you have the option here, okay, where it says you can select a field or you can create the field. Okay, I don't need to explain to anyone on this call that that won't add it to the layout. You need to add it to the layout, but you know, this is where you create the field. Okay, and it will create it pretty quickly. Obviously, be mindful not to do doing so during production hours because you'll boot everyone out, but it's a pretty quick process. Okay, any other questions? Okay. I think we've covered all the programs pretty well. I'm going to be doing a deeper dive on Link to List next week. Yes, this is recorded, Scott, and I'll distribute it around to everyone on Monday. But I will be doing a deeper dive on Link to List. It's a public webinar, 1 p.m. next Thursday. Please go to our website to book. You can go here. Scroll down and just click on our upcoming events. Okay, and you could book here. Okay, and we'll have a deeper dive on that and actually do a scan and show you guys how it works. Renee asks, just for clarification, both web and desktop users can use this. So yes, if basically it's connecting via the web API. Okay, so obviously web and desktop users, especially if you're hosted or you've got APC with desktop sync, you can access it. If you do not have web API, obviously I don't need to explain to everyone how to set up a Connect link or through APFW and IIS, but they will need access. Everything within Linktivity is based on the web API. Okay, that's the direction that we're going. We are strongly promoting people migrating to APC, but for people that wish to remain self-hosted, they can host through their or access all of this through their self-hosted API, Connect Link or IIS. Okay, but yeah, I can certainly tell you that for APC customers, it's easy. I showed this in week 1, so I'll just quickly go through this again for anyone that was not on the call. If you are setting up your APC here, okay, you're on APC, and all you've got to do is go over here and say, okay, which region am I in? Am I in Canada, English only, US, UK, Australia or New Zealand, or Europe? If I was click on this, boom, it automatically inserts the appropriate API. Okay, so for APC users, this is pretty easy. Okay, then you just put in your database name. For those that are unfamiliar, we actually added a feature request, which ACT obliged, and let me show you. A lot of people don't know how to get their database name. So I'll just wrap up this 5-week series and show you one of the little Easter eggs they've added in here. Okay, so this one is fairly arcane. I'll log in. And by the way, we even include this information over here. Where is it? Okay, if you click on here, it gives you the instructions on how to get your database name. So I'm going to get back here and I'm going to click here. I'm going to go down to About Act. And you see how this is underscored? If I click on it, it copies it to the clipboard. and I can just paste. I can go back here and just paste in the name that way. I really had to push them because previously they had they displayed the name, but it was unscrapable. You couldn't even copy it. I made a request that they make it scrapable. They went one step further and provided utility to automatically copy it to the clipboard. So that's pretty handy. Okay, so we are now at 2:01. We've run out of time. I really want to thank everyone that's participated in any of these webinar series through the month of November and now the first day of December. On Tuesday is the launch of the ACT Linktivity Distribution Partnership. You guys are in an excellent position to start buying through them. Not only are you going to get a 25% discount, not only are you going to get margin and offer really powerful tools to your customers to make ACT stickier and more modern, but all of your sales through ACT are now also going to be counted towards your ARR and your new bookings quota. So these are excellent opportunities, and I think this is, obviously I'm biased. I think this is a strong addition to the ACT the ACT ecosystem, but I'm telling you guys, we have been pushing these for years, and it's what we lead with, and obviously we've had considerable success selling ACT, and I wish the same for you all. Okay, thank you very much for attending. If I don't speak to any of you guys before the end, have a great weekend, and look forward to talking to you soon. Take care.